Good day, students. This is certificate in policing. The subject is investigative principle B. It's a contact-based class for assignment and examination for 2022. These are my information. The details are as follows. I am Jeffness Mbako. My qualification is a National Diploma in Policing, Certificate in Policing, Level 5, a Certificate in Police Basic Training, a Certificate in Gender-Based Violence course, and etc. The contact detail is therefore 081-3434-522, or alternatively, you can call me at 085-3434-522. My email address is jeffnessmbako@gmail.com. Contact hours is therefore from 16:30 to 19:30, that is weekdays. You can call me telephonically or anytime via the email. The table of the content is therefore introduction, the aims of the contact class, the learning outcomes of the module, overview of the module's content, structure of the assignment and question papers and assessment. Introduction. Dear students, welcome to the assignment and examination based contact class for investigative principle B. The aims of this module are to enable students to develop the following theoretical understanding, values, and competency, discuss how the police should give feedback to the complainants about cases, how to prepare witnesses to give evidence in court, examine the categories of identification and distinguish between identification and individualization, analyze the investigation and reconstruction of the crime scene, explain the methods or purpose of arrest and how to execute the warrant of arrest, the importance of the investigator attending the court, and explain the procedure of completing or writing up of the case docket. Aims of the contact class is to provide guidance to the students in preparation for the assignment and an examination, to highlight the structure of the assignment and the examination question papers, to highlight the type of questions to be expected in both the assignment and examination, to explain the calculation of continuous assessment marks and examination marks, awarding of the final marks, to provide a brief elaborative perspective on the content of the module. Learning outcomes of the module. At the end of this conclusion of this module, students should be able to prepare witnesses to give evidence in court and to give feedback to the complainants about their cases. The difference between identification and individualization, the process of investigation and reconstruction of crime scenes, the arresting process and the warrant of arrest, subpoena of witnesses, and the investigator attending the court. How to complete or write up the case docket needs to be explained also or discussed. The overview of the module's content. Additional feedback given to the complainant as the case develops is important, where the investigator needs to give feedback to the complainant on how the case is going. As soon as the case is received by the investigator for investigation, he or she must contact the complainant immediately. He or she must hand the complainant his rank, his name, the force number, his cell phone number, therefore just to communicate if anything comes up. The investigator must also make sure that he or she has the correct contact details of the complainant. The module overview continue. Preparing a witness for court process. Investigators must also prepare the witnesses to testify in court. Witness preparation must start earlier, even before the trial date is known. The following are suggestions to deal with witness when preparing the witnesses for court. Direct your answers to the court. Always answer truthfully. Don't fabricate answers. If you realize that you have made a mistake, acknowledge the mistake and ask the court for an opportunity to correct the mistake. The module overview continue. We therefore have to give a definition of identification. The concept of identification refers merely to the identification of something or someone belonging to a specific class or group. To explain the concept of identification, take for example a piece of material found at a child rape crime scene. We therefore give a definition of individualization. Individualization can be defined as the process that takes place through comparison or comparison with another, and is used to establish a dispute sample when compared and is from the same, if it is from the same origin. Therefore, it's only to compare the two samples if they belong to the same origin at the crime scene. That is the evidence which was collected. It's only to compare the two specific samples to determine if they are of the same origin. That is the definition of individualization. The difference between identification and individualization. Identification is lesser value than the concept of individualization, since with identification, an object is identified to a specific class or group. Individualization adds significant value to the concept of identification, since one can individualize a person or object and can therefore identify the origin or donor of the physical evidence found. The overview of the module therefore continue. The responsibilities of the first responding officer, that is now at the crime scene. The crime scene officer or the first responding officer needs to take care of the safety and well-being of individual. Preserving of evidence, that is to make sure that the evidence are protected and they are preserved, that no other person will contaminate that certain evidence. Recording of information, that is now to record the information of what you have noticed at the scene or crime scene. Dealing with witnesses is when the crime scene officer need to discuss or to talk to the witnesses and obtaining statements from them in connection of what happened at that certain crime scene. Communication with others involved. This is the people, the bystanders and all the other people which were there before you, where you need to communicate with them. Perhaps you must get information from, or either the victims which were involved. How that is now your communication with them in how to collect the information. That is your responsibility as a first responding officer. and then the safety of the weapons. If there is any knife which was involved at the scene, or there is any sharp object which you notice which is dangerous at the scene, or you notice a gun or any other weapon. So therefore, you therefore have to make sure that it is safe by all means for any other event to take place afterwards. It's your responsibility as a first responding officer. The following could be recorded as part of the checklist when visiting a crime scene. The checklist therefore needs to have, you therefore need to write the full street address of that certain crime scene. Where you went, you have to write the full street address at the checklist. You therefore also need to write the time of the notification of the crime and by who informed you, and then the time which you were notified by the person. You have to indicate it on the checklist. Particulars of the first responder or the contact person at the crime scene. These particulars needs to be indicated at the checklist at all times. The module overview therefore continue. On arrival at the scene, the crime scene officer need to record the following. You therefore also need to record the time of arrival at the crime scene, the method of the scene security, such as the officers. Maybe you guys were using officers' vehicle to barricade the crime scene, or you are using the officers themselves, like for example the reserve force by surrounding the crime scene, or you guys use the barrier type, that is the red and white type, if you know the one which I'm talking about, which is always being put or is surrounding the crime scene. As I said, it can either be vehicles which can be used just to protect the crime scene. Particulars of everyone on the crime scene, such as the first responder, an evidence collector, and investigating officer. The first responders' information or particulars are supposed to be indicated for the near future. The person who collected the evidence, whether now it was the crime scene officer and all other stakeholders which were involved, the investigating officer, the officer who's handling the case, information is supposed to be indicated. The weather condition, the crime scene temperature, both inside and outside, and the wind direction and speed, and then therefore the condition of the sky needs to be indicated on the crime scene record, which is very important as an investigating officer. Those are very important aspects, especially on the ground. Crime scene safety therefore continue. The flow safety measures are essential in the processing of a crime scene. These are the equipments the equipments which are needed at the crime scene, which you need to have for your safety. We have what we call the lectors or the neutral gloves, which you usually put on. Usually they are white in color, they are blue, they are different in colors. These gloves are of course important for protecting the evidence, because they keep the crime scene officer from leaving his own fingerprints behind, especially when touching the evidence. Let me say you removed a gun from the scene. For you not to contaminate that scene, you have to therefore use the gloves which is alluded or indicated in this module. They also offer protection from blood and other hazardous substances at the scene, as well as cuts and liquids. More than one layer of the gloves could be worn, and a layer of glass or of the gloves could be removed when working with different pieces of evidence. Therefore, gloves they have different formats, which ones to be used when handling with evidence. The footwear is very important to protect the scene, which covers the safety shoes of the crime scene officer. Therefore, usually the footwear is covered, especially at murder cases, for the officers not to leave behind the shoe tracks, which will also compromise the investigation in the process of arresting the suspects. Depending on the situation of the crime scene officer, they may also use eyeglasses or goggles, or what we call the face shields, to protect his eyes from chemical splashes, films, and then or something bouncing into his eye. It might be either petrol which was used, and then it can spill into or splash into his eyes and all that, or any other objects which is found at the crime scene, whether it's a knife which was hanging, which can therefore strike into the officer's eyes. Respiratory, it's very important aspects, with proper filters for arson crimes and meth labs. This is therefore the respirators to protect the officer from the arson cases. Sometimes there is very dangerous substances which can therefore enter into the officer's nose, which is very important for the officer to always wear. The mask is also therefore indicated as a very important equipment, where the air is filled with noxious doors from a decomposing body, and all that, or doors. Therefore, it's very important for the officers to protect themselves, to be safe at all times at the scene. We then therefore come to the arrest and then warrants of arrest. Methods of arrest. An arrest occurs when a person is taken into custody and therefore deprived of his or freedom of movement. Therefore, your right is taken away from you when you are arrested. The freedom of movement is therefore deprived from you. When the arrest occurs, the rights of the person has the privacy and human dignity also seriously infringed. Therefore, most of your privacy and your human dignity usually is infringed once one has been arrested. Section 39, subsection 1 of the Criminal Procedure Act provides two methods of arrest. The one is with a warrant and the other is without a warrant. Although Section 40 of the Criminal Procedure Act authorizes the execute of an arrest without a warrant, in certain circumstances, only the majority of arrests are performed without a warrant. Requirements of a lawful arrest. Learners need to take note of these requirements, as it plays a very, very big role to the police officers, especially on the ground, as sometimes most of the officers are being sued because of these unlawful arrest which is being done. And one needs to take note of this before committing, before arresting or after arresting a suspect. You therefore needs to explain or do the right arrest. We therefore continue. The arrest must be duly authorized. The officer making the arrest must either be in possession of a warrant of arrest or the provision of Section 40 of the Criminal Procedure Act must be applicable in the case of an arrest without a warrant. The person being arrested must be taken into custody physically. His or her freedom of movement must therefore be restricted. His or her body may be touched, or if necessary, force may be used to bring the person under control. This is very straightforward, where the officer needs to inform the suspect by holding him on the shoulders or on the body to touch. You have to touch the suspect to inform him that he's under arrest, and to inform him that he needs to be physically put into custody. You have to indicate that he is under arrest, not just to tell the person verbally, but you need to also touch the body for the person to see that, yes, I have been arrested. Sometimes an officer is not in uniform, or perhaps he did not even explain to the suspect who he is and all that, which is a very it's an unlawful arrest, that one. The arrested person must be informed of the reason of arrest. As I alluded, the person must be informed at the time of arrest or immediately after the arrest has been made. You have to be informed the reason why you have been arrested. Let me give an example of me coming to arrest a person. I have therefore to inform the person who I am. I am Constable Mbako, a police officer by the rank of constable, stationed at Dordabes Police Station is an example. I am giving you the reason why I'm arresting you is because you are therefore suspected of housebreaking at a farm called Hatsamas in the district of Dordabes, district Komas region. That is straightforward. I believe that is how you have to give to give a reason of arrest, and also to inform the person that that is the reason of arrest. The arrested person must be taken to the prescribed authority as soon as possible. That is to take the person immediately to the police station, not even just to go stand at a bar or to go stand at any other structure, just like that. You have to take immediately. Once you are done with your investigation, take the suspects immediately to the nearest police station for the person to be locked up, or for other necessary actions to be taken. Section 50 of the Criminal Procedure Act provides that the arrested person must be taken to a police station as soon as possible. The arrested person may also be detained for up to 48 hours before he or she must be brought before court. It is important that the police official performing the arrest must have the intention throughout complying with the provision of Section 50 of the Criminal Procedure Act. This is one of the very requirements which I noticed that most of the officers are wrong at doing. So I believe as a student, let's take note of doing the right thing. It is indicated that once the suspect has been arrested, he therefore have to be brought to book or brought to the nearest court within the time of 48 hours. But then these hours it's not including the public holidays and etc. In depth in our module, it is well explained. It's therefore I will urge students to go read your module thoroughly and then acquaint yourself with this requirement. The arrested person who is also detained must be informed of the right of the arrested person and therefore detained the person. These rights must be explained to him or her in a language that he or she understands. This is one of the things, one of the requirements again, which I therefore urge police officers or security guards or stakeholders to always to be at the safe side of doing the arrest. One needs to inform or explain the suspect his rights in the language that he or she therefore needs to understand. If a person speaks Damara Nama, what you have to do, you therefore can call up another person just to explain to the person what you are telling the suspect. For example, that you are arresting the person and that you want to go detain him. You take the person and then the translator just to inform the suspect what your intentions are or what you want to inform him. Perhaps he might also understand Afrikaans. You then can contact or tell the person in the language that he understands. Firstly, ask the person what language he speaks and all that, so that you can always be at the safe side, that because most of the cases are being withdrawn because of the language barrier which was there between the suspect and then the officer which was conducting the arrest. So I will urge learners to be better than the officers on the ground, because this is very important task, as some officers really don't follow the right requirements. Warrant, the arrest and then the warrants of arrest continue. A warrant is a written order which instructs the person described in the warrant must be arrested by a peace officer or police officer in connection with the crime mentioned in the warrant, and that such person must be brought before a lower court in terms of Section 50 of the Criminal Procedure Act. The warrant of arrest therefore needs to contain the following information: the name and description of the person who must be arrested. That is now all the details of the suspect which need to be arrested must be indicated on that warrant of arrest. What is the person's name? How does the person look like? Is he having long hair? Is he having a light in complexion color? How tall is the person? What tribe is he? What language is he speaking? And all that. Those are the description of the person. Does he have blue eyes and all that? Yes. The description of the crime is very important. Was it a housebreaking? What type of crime was it? Was it a murder? And all that. It is indicated in the warrant of arrest. The address at which the accused may be found. That is where the suspect or the accused person is staying. most of the times it should be indicated on the warrant of arrest, if it is known. Application for the issue of a warrant. Section 43, subsection 1 of the Criminal Procedure Act provides that the following persons may apply for a warrant of arrest or a warrant. That it is therefore a director of the public prosecutions, a public prosecutor, and then a commission officer in the police. A public prosecutor is the prosecutor, which we usually call in the magistrate courts. A commission officer is usually by the rank of inspector upwards. Usually there is an inspector, then the inspector, then comes the chief inspector, then comes the deputy commissioner, then comes the full commissioner, then comes the major generals, upwards up to the general. Those are what we call commission officers in the police. Procedure followed when serving a subpoena. A copy of the subpoena must be handed to the witness personally at his or her place of residence or business address or any place where he or she is employed. If the witness is not available at the address mentioned on the subpoena, a copy of the subpoena must be handed to the person who seems not to be younger than 16 years, who appears to stay or work at that certain address. So this is very important when serving a subpoena. Always, if the person is not there, always make sure that a copy should be submitted or handed over to a person not younger than 16 years, or else this subpoena will not succeed in court at all. If the witness avoid the serving of the subpoena by keeping the home or business address locked, or by doing so making the serving of the subpoena impossible, it is sufficient if a copy of the subpoena is attached to the door, to the outside door or the main door of the residential or business place. That is when you found that the business or the house of the person which you want to serve, the subpoena is not available, or it was impossible for you to subpoena that certain person. It is therefore sufficient for you to attach a copy of the subpoena at the main door or outside door of the house or business place, for the person to therefore come to court when subpoenaed. We then come to the completion, or how to complete and write and the writing up of the case dockets. This is a very, very important task in our investigative principle subject. What is a docket? A docket is a well-developed file based on experience over many years. It normally consists of 6 pages, which each containing information that is needed by different persons handling the docket, from the official opening the docket to the filing clerk. What is on the first page or in front of the case docket? In front of the case docket, usually these are the following information which is on top of a case docket. A case docket is usually a certain document which is having 6 pages. This document has what we call the case number, the CR number, the name of the police station, the details of the complainant, his name, surname, the address, his cell phone number, etc. Where the particulars of where that certain incident took place, if the crime scene happened in, for example, Komasdal, it will be indicated with the place where the crime was committed. It therefore also have columns which is indicating which type of crime was committed. Was it a housebreaking? What was the methods which was used? It is also indicated. It therefore also indicates if the nature of the property, which was it the housebreaking, or was it the knife which was used, and all those particular things, and then whether they were recovered or not recovered. All those details will be indicated. Therefore, in short, it is a case number, and then the station investigating officers' details must be indicated, the space and date of the offense, whether the value of the house or the items which was stolen, and then was it therefore recovered or not recovered, it must be indicated. The final results of the trial, what did the trial decided on that specific trial, exhibits, what was therefore stolen, was it knife, was the knife which was involved, and all those type of exhibits, was the shoes and all that which was stolen and then were recovered. Those are the exhibits. The disposal of that certain docket will therefore be indicated thereof when by the commission officer, because it's usually disposed by commission officers. The completion and writing up of the case dockets, it therefore continues. That is page 2, what we call section A. The first information of crime statements and all statements by witnesses must be filed under this section. Practically all documents the prosecutor will use to build his or her case or to present in court will be filed under this section. In short, this is where we place a certain document called the first information of crime. That is Polc 3. Polc 3 is a certain document where there is a communication between the prosecutor and the investigating officer on how they want the investigation to take place. The prosecutor usually therefore also indicates on that certain form what he wants the investigator to do, whether it's now to obtain statements from a certain witness which was mentioned in the statements, and then collect that statement and then attach it again in that certain form or in that certain column, which is the page 2. It's also the prosecutor also communicate with the investigator on what he or she believes wants from the case for the case to materialize, or else the case will therefore be withdrawn. So it's basically a communication between the prosecutor and then the investigator handling the case on the information of what he or she needs to obtain. That is usually on top of that Polc 3, or what we call the page 2. The on top is usually what we call there must be information of the case number, the index number, where that certain crime was reported. If it is Windhoek Police Station, it will be indicated that it was at Windhoek Police Station, and all and so forth. Polc 3, that is section B. all correspondence in the case, the negative fingerprints reports, or all documents received by the investigator referred to the investigation of the case, which has been evidential value, must be filed under this section. All documents under this section must be properly marked with the name of the police station. Therefore, in short, these are usually the report of fingerprints which are negative, let me say, which came from the crime scene officers or forensic, which indicated that the suspects or the accused persons which were involved, fingerprints are corresponding with the fingerprints which were found at the crime scene. Therefore, that's why we talk about negative fingerprints reports, which usually are filed under page 3 of the case docket, section B. Section 4 or page 4, this is actually section C. This is an investigation diary section. Again, the investigation diary must contain a full working record of all the investigation done in the case, as well as the index to all documents filed under A and B. If properly kept, an inspecting officer could follow the investigation diary with ease, and then to convince him or her that all is done to resolve the case. I believe that is straightforward for the students to understand. A diary must also be marked with the name of the police station. Usually on top of the diary is written the name of the police station, the case number, and then the index number. For practical purpose, the diary is divided into 3 columns. The one on the left is for the time and date of entry. The middle one is for the purpose of the entry, and then the one on the far left corner is for the index number. It is important that the diary is kept daily and written up without delay. So once you have received the information on who the suspect is, you need to without any delay, needs to indicate who that certain suspect is, where he's residing, if the person was arrested or not arrested, and so forth. Page 5, details of accused. Usually this column or page is usually to indicate where all the information of the suspects are indicated, where the fingerprints of these suspects are therefore indicated on that certain page. So in short, that is basically the information of the accused persons, who they are, how old they are, and all that, their highest grades, and their fingerprints also. It's also usually having a column taken for this specific task. Page 6, that is the last page at the back of the case docket, where there is remand dates, when the case was postponed, the bail, if the person was opposed bail, or he received bail, admissions, and all that. It's and then the defense. It's an investigating officer must take note of the notes of the prosecutor in this space. So that is basically how it is. That is basically how we are structuring the assessment and then the question papers. In brief, the students needs to check upon this, and then acquaint yourself on how to calculate, on how the question paper might look like, or the assignment must be structured, and all questions are compulsory to be answered. basically also that is the calculation of how one needs to pass the assignment. As I indicated or alluded, the assignment mark must be a 50, and then the examination must also be 50 for the student to pass. So remember that the question papers are moderated at all times by another person. In conclusion, I have come to the end of my presentation. However, students, take note that the scope of this module is not limited to the contents covered hereof or within. Therefore, I am urging students to study the study gate of investigative principle B and other recommended materials. Avoid, therefore, to be late or to prepare late for examination and assignment, as usually I notice the students are failing. And I wish you all the best, students, with your study at IOL, and do not hesitate to contact me if you need any assistance related to this module. I thank you.